We'll be on until 1.
Okay.
So I'll make this really, really quick. Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. We are back. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. We are speaking with Bruce Marks of NACA. What is NACA? Why is it important? And how can you change your life after this conversation? All of that to be wrapped up in the next 40 minutes that we have with Bruce. So Bruce, what exactly is NACA?
So it is great to be on, Taylor. So look, I started NACA, as you know, 35 years ago. So we are an economic justice organization. So, and we do it by providing the best mortgage in America. So as good as it sounds, so if you were to hear someone says you can get a mortgage with no down payment, with no closing costs, with no fees, no PMI, at a below market fixed rate. Today's rate on a 30-year mortgage is 2.125%. 2.125%. On a 15-year term, it's 1.75%. And we don't consider anybody's credit score. And we have $20 billion of this one mortgage product. You would say, it sounds too good to be true. What's the scam?
What's the scam, Bruce?
What's the scam? And that's because, you know, we've been doing this. So we do the operations and we have this it's true. It's factually the best mortgage in America because we are a licensed nonprofit mortgage broker. And so the regulators look at it and they say, it's too good to be true. We're going to cite you for saying something that can't be true. And we say, well, go back and do your homework and look at what we've done. And they come back and it says, yes, you can say this is the best mortgage in America. But it's also based on the advocacy that we've done. Because, you know, it's one of those things that comes out of advocacy and it comes out of operations. So we started here in Boston. So we actually coined the term in the late 1980s of predatory lending. It's NACA that coined that term. And that came out of Dorchester in the second mortgage scam, where these contractors and finance people were targeting elderly minority homeowners and stealing the equity out of their homes. And that was in the mid to late 1980s. And we've taken on that fight in predatory lending. So NACA is really known for its advocacy. I mean, we took on Fleet. It took us 4.5 years to beat them. And, you know, that was against Fleet. They were one of the major predatory lenders in the country. And the last thing, if I can tell, the story that happened that we did is a 4.5 year war with Fleet. I mean, we went to their homes, we went to where they socialized, and their CEO, Terry Murray, and we got him on 60 Minutes. We went to Georgia to protest their law firms, and we did all these things, you know, organized nationwide against Fleet. So what pushed them, I think, over the edge was that at the Newton Marriott, just outside of Boston, they were having a conference, and it was sponsored by Harvard Business School. So we stole all the names of the Harvard Business School graduates. So we took their names and we signed up for this breakfast thing that they did. And Terry Murray, their CEO, was speaking. And we went in there as, you know, 35 of us as Harvard Business School graduates. They hadn't seen so many minority Harvard Business School graduates ever. We went in there, we took over the meeting, and, you know, it was all of these financial executives throughout New England. And we shut it down. And we said to Terry Murray, the CEO, says, you know, it's done. You know, this breakfast, this meeting is over. So, but he stood up and he said, what NACA said about Fleet was absolutely correct, Fleet Finance, and that within 2 weeks, he put a clock on it. He said, within 2 weeks, I'm going to settle this. So we had 3 meetings. First meeting was to get each one was about a couple of hours. First one was get the lay of the land, what we're looking for. Second one was to be very specific. Third one was to get the deal done. So we got, make a long story short, so we got the deal done. It was $8 billion of an in-city program. It was settling the lawsuits with Roy Barnes and others. He became governor of Georgia. And it was getting $140 million of NACA's Best in America mortgage, $140 million. And as I'm leaving the meeting, Terry Murray says to me, Said, you've been an organizer, you've been an activist, but you'll never do it again because you're going to be so consumed with mortgage lending and the regulations around it that, I've given you enough rope to hang yourself. But what he didn't realize, he didn't say it in a nasty way. He just said, now you're going to be so consumed by all the regulations and all the requirements. But what he didn't realize, he gave us full control. So by having full control, we could reinvent mortgage lending. And we could overcome the major roadblocks that people have around mortgage lending. And what are those four major roadblocks? Number one is people require significant savings, for down payment and for the closing costs. How do you overcome that? No down payment or no closing costs, because there are none. Number two is restrictive underwriting. How do you solve that? Well, you don't look at someone's credit score. You look at payments that they control over a 12 to 24 months. Because times are tough, budgets are tight. But you want to see, so no one should be prevented from home ownership because they couldn't afford a medical bill. That's a reflection of our dysfunctional healthcare system. So, but you look at the ones that what people control. And then you look at, particularly low and moderate income people, you look at this saying, well, you might be late on some payments, but you actually know how to budget. You're budgeting very well, it's just tight. So don't look at someone's credit score. Number three is unaffordable terms. NACA solution, a below market fixed rate where everybody gets the same deal. Not based on income, not based on credit score, obviously, not based on those things. And Forbes magazine wrote us up and saying the only program in the country where everybody gets the same deal, regardless of their circumstance, regardless of where they're buying, income, anything, is NACA. Deal with that. Last one is racism and biases. How does NACA overcome that? We overcome it because we pre-approve people before they even begin the housing search, as you know, Tayla, on that piece. So you pre-approve people, and that means that they become very desirable customers for real estate agents, for sellers, for the players out there, because virtually 100% of everybody that applies through NACA to the banks gets approved. So we got this. So we overcome those four major roadblocks to home ownership. And then, we have $20 billion to lend. And so because of the pandemic and everybody's working remote, well, that allows us, in a sense, we've been able to take that and make a bad situation better. And so now we are nationwide. So we do about 500-600 closings a month, and that's going up. 88% of our borrowers are minority home buyers, and we're changing how lending is getting done in this country. But we're an economic justice organization. So
go ahead. I want you to finish that.
So for the last 3 months, for the last 30 days, we've been down in Georgia doing rolls to the polls. We have 360,000 members in Georgia. So when you look to see why Georgia was flipped, well, NACA was instrumental in flipping Georgia because for 3 months, we had 150 vans, 150 15-seat vans. And so for the 20 days of early voting and on election day, we drove people from their homes safely with all the PPE protections, masks, sanitizers, all that, to the polls, waited for them, brought them back home. And over 40,000 people were able to help get from their home to the polls and back. So we were a big player in flipping Georgia, and now we're still going to obviously do a lot more in the Senate race. But that's what NACA does. We're an economic justice organization built on providing the best mortgage in America. But obviously we do a lot more than that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the fact that here in Boston is almost unaffordable to anyone who's not making $250,000 a year. so much to the tune that the city of Boston came out with a program working with the One Mortgage to try and increase people's buying power. We know because NACA doesn't have any of these fees that buying power also increases. For those that are looking to purchase, I know the answers, but let's take it all the way back. For people who are looking to purchase, can they purchase a single or a multi or land?
All the above. All the above. You can buy, and actually a lot of the properties that people are buying in the Boston area, they, because obviously we have the three deckers here. So they're buying multifamilies. So they can, buy, as long as they live in one of the units, they can buy a 1 to 4 family, condo, new construction, anything, every type of housing. It can't be more than 4 units. It can be a joint, it can be a combination residential and commercial. It can be that whole range. And not only that, but remember, while we're starting at an interest rate of 2.125, you can buy down the interest rate with the city assistance, or to get down to virtually 0%. So you get to 0% because 1% of the mortgage permanently reduces the interest rate by a 1/4%. So let's take, for example, you just make it easy. You have a $200,000 purchase price. So for $8,000, you bring it down to 1%. With $16,000, you have a 0% mortgage. Forever.
You pay no interest. You only pay that $200,000.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So you can use the city money to do that, to buy down the interest rate on that. And through the city, we're getting, I think it's ranging from $10,000 to $18,000 for the borrowers to be able to use the city money for that.
So, Bruce, I would like to talk about some of the things that are coming in that are like, Tayla, I can't do NACA because I don't. And so I'd like to talk about these things that people do complain about, and to give an understanding of why these things are what they are. So, recently I was talking to a client and she was like, Tayla, this is my financial situation. I'm like, listen, for what you make, your best bet is to do NACA because of all of the benefits that you will receive from the NACA mortgage. Nothing else is going to be better for your situation than a NACA mortgage. Tayla, I can't do it. I went through the system and nobody ever wants to call you back. Nobody wants to return emails. Everybody's busy. Now, this is pre-COVID, so I cannot imagine what your representatives are going through today. But there's lack of communication. It's lack of definitive answers. I feel like I'm being dragged along. I got pre-approved with NACA and they pre-approved me for $250,000. I went somewhere else and they pre-approved me for $400,000. How am I supposed to go through NACA when they're not even giving me enough to purchase something?
So let's take each one of those concerns. So, there's a massive amount of the demand for the NACA program. So yes, we pride ourselves on to provide very good customer service. But so the way that we deal with that is if someone's not returning someone's call, we have live chat. So you can go into the NACA website and you do a live chat. So we have people available all the time saying, hey, it's a big organization, so things happen. So you want to go to the live chat because then you can immediately talk to our member services staff to have any of the issues addressed. And the other thing that, just so you know, we're hiring about 75 counselors every month. So because the demand is so huge, because everybody wants this program. The other thing that you didn't mention that I do want to say is one of the other criticisms of NACA is the process takes too long once I have the application and the purchase and sale. So we always look to saying you want to take a negative and make it into a positive. So what we do now is that we have one of the best streamlined processes out there and fastest. That once someone has a contract, that you can get it through and you can close within 30 days. Now, if you need rehab, it takes a little bit longer. So you're always looking to do it better. So the one thing is, if someone doesn't call you back within the required 24 hours, then you go into a live chat and you say, "Hey, I haven't heard back from my counselor. How can you help?" And that's why we have members on, in a live chat. Remember, you don't have to wait in the queue, because one of the things is there's such a demand, you would wait in the queue. You go to the live chat and you can have that addressed. Now let's talk about what someone is qualified for, what they're qualified for. So let's take a step back and let's talk about what we did in, for example, Lawrence. We had over 3,500 NACA homeowners in Lawrence, over 3,500. Then came the mortgage crisis in 2008. And we knew before that, because I testified in Congress on September 12th of 2000, that this mortgage crisis was going to happen. And we knew it because, and we knew that was going to happen because people were coming to us saying, "I want to be approved for more than we knew that they can afford." That happened because people were getting subprime loans that we knew were structured to fail. So we have always said that we will not put someone in a home that they cannot demonstrate that they can afford. So how do we do that? We say, okay, what is it that you're paying in rent? What's your rental payment? And if you can afford that, then that should be your mortgage payment. Now, if you want more than what you're paying in rent, then you have to save that money every month. It's called the payment shock. The difference between your rental payment and what you want for your mortgage payment. So let's say I'm paying $1,000 now. It's more than that in Boston. So we'll just take an example. Let's say you're paying $1,000 a month in your rent, but you want a mortgage payment that's $1,500 a month. Well, you're going to have to demonstrate to your counselor, to your NACA counselor, that you can save that $500 for 3 to 6 months, because you're never going to see it again. So if you can't save that money because you want to use it to do other things, well, then you can't afford that payment. So yes, that's why, and this is important, the performance of the NACA loans is one of the best in the industry. So we have a foreclosure rate of 0.00012, less than 1/100 of 1%. Because we have destroyed the myth that if somebody has low credit score, which we don't look at, if someone is lower moderate income or a minority homeowner, that the lenders want to charge them higher rates, a greater down payment, more costs, we say, or more PMI. So we've destroyed that myth with now 70,000 NACA mortgages. So we do it the right way. So yes, some people will say, look, I want to be qualified for more. You have to demonstrate you can afford it based on your rent plus what you save every month, documented. Other times people say, well, why are we requiring all these documents? So let's deal with some of the nuts and bolts. Well, people say, I have to submit.
Documents have never been an issue because I'd let them know ahead of time, like, be prepared to get. It's like a financial pap smear. Like, you were about to feel violated in every way. So just as far as finances are concerned, just be prepared to be violated. Like, spread them legs, because that's what's gonna happen. And people are like, Tayla, you serious? Yes. Like, I use that analogy because it's so like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But once you go through having to get all of this paperwork, like, it really does feel like, damn, you're trying to know everything.
Yes.
But that's the process of purchasing a house, whether you go through NACA or whether you go through Santander, who sucks. I had to say that.
I agree with that.
Yo, these banks are horrible, Bruce, when it comes to these loans and being a part of the programs and trying to, like, one of the questions that came in from Philip wants to know, what about family members who are still repaying those predatory lenders in 2020? Are there any loan forgiveness for elderly minority victims or any victims in the past? We know for a fact that Bank of America, Santander, Wachovia are still paying hundreds of millions of dollars to those that not only just predatory lending, racial discrimination. Like, there's still a lot going on in 2020, and they're getting slaps on the wrist. $100,000 to a company that makes $1 billion a year.
Yeah,
in profit.
And then look, and Wells Fargo is a predatory lender, and Wells Fargo has documented, they set up false accounts, they engage in predatory lending practices. They're still, yes, they've gotten some slaps on the wrist, but not the government has done some things with them, but not enough for that. And so they have one of the worst reputations, the worst reputation. But as you know, there's more corruption in the real estate and in the mortgage business than any other industry out there. I mean, so everybody, has to be concerned because everybody's trying to rip you off. I'm not saying, you as a real estate agent, Taylor, but within the industry, there's a lot of that stuff. So, so you have to be really concerned. But, a lot of times, people, they say, well, it's full doc. I mean, it's not just full doc for the applicant, it's full doc for the household. You want to know what the household's going to do, because if you're going to make sure that you can afford that payment, well, if someone has a lot of debts out there and you're in the household, well, you have to address that in some ways, because you want to make sure the household is well situated. But if somebody if you have a predatory loan or an unaffordable mortgage loan, you should come to NACA, because we can help you. We're now working to modify the mortgages. And remember, back in the mortgage crisis, who was it who had these massive events? NACA had these massive events where we'd be in a convention center. We'd have 800 counselors, our counselors there. We would have a couple of thousand staff of the lenders there doing same-day solutions, modifying mortgages by reducing mortgage payments by hundreds, sometimes $1,000 or $2,000 a month in their mortgage payments. So a lot of people, because there's no money out there for nonprofits to do that anymore, we're still doing that. So people should go to our website at NACA.com so that they're able to, we can help them with the NACA advocate keep their homes. And, so that's really important. And then for the pandemic, if you have a NACA mortgage, what we're able to do is we're able to put that payment on the back end. So if you can't make the payments, so, it's on the back end. So instead of a 360-month mortgage, you have a 366-month mortgage. So when you sell or you refinance, you owe those payments, but it's not structured to fail, so that when you get back to work, you get your income back, you still have your old payments, not an additional payment. And that's a big advancement from what happened during the mortgage crisis.
What can we? I'm sorry. So right now, people can call NACA, and get help with solutions.
Yes.
Okay, and that's NACA.com. And just for those who are looking at me, I know those that are listening can't really see what I'm doing, but those that are watching. So I am actually in the go-to meeting. And it's dope because there are 5 different representatives in here just sitting here waiting to answer questions. So I am thoroughly impressed because I have had clients that were complaining. Let's talk about.
So I just want to, if I could, reinforce one of the things that you're saying with what you're saying, Tayla, on that, is that I think that's a reflection of what we do. We're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but what's really nice about the job that I have and about this organization is we control our own destiny. We control our own destiny. So when we see their problems, because the demand is huge, so how do we deal with the pandemic? So we would before the pandemic, we would do these big achieve the dream events, not save the dream events, which for homeowners with an unaffordable mortgage. We would do these achieve the dream events. So during the achieve the dream events, we would have 10,000 home buyers come to over 4 days, come to a convention center, and we would work with them to get them through and get them what we call NACA qualified, in essence, pre-approved in 1 day. In 1 day, they'd come in, they'd do a workshop, they'd meet with a counselor, and then they would meet with a NACA underwriter to pre-approve them in 1 day, because we know that the demand is so huge. Well, you can't do that face to face now because of the pandemic, obviously. So what we did is we do it all virtually. So in May and June, we did 6 Achieve the Dream events virtually. That would mean we did them for 4 days in a row, 6 weeks in a row. And we were able to help tens of thousands of people, and many thousands were able to get pre-approved because the demand is so huge. Now we're doing those same things every other week. So on a Saturday or Sunday, thousands of people, we do about, at each one of these Achieve the Dream events virtually, we do about 1,500 people counsel a day. So about 3,000 people get counseled a day. But now it's nationwide, because now we're in every state in this country. And we're in part of every state in this country. So everybody wants the NACA mortgage. So we know the demand is there. That's why we're expanding and we're growing, because our ultimate goal is to make the NACA standard the national standard, where we're not the exception to the rule. There's more players doing it. Because what built the white suburbs after World War II? It was the no down payment VA mortgage. And it was the white suburbs because minority home buyers could not access that mortgage and couldn't buy in those areas. So when we say, so people say, well, no down payment is somehow, well, you don't have skin in the game and all that. Well, that's really racist and patronizing, because it was good enough to build the white suburbs. Why is it not good enough now for minority home buyers, full documentation, to be able to have the dream that has been promised for hundreds of years from day one, but never achieved on scale?
So one of the things that I would like to read from the book, Finally Home, the step-by-step guide for people preparing for first-time home ownership. In 1944, the GI Bill, or the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, afforded 63,000 white veteran homeowners opportunities. Non-whites were able to use it, but to the tune of less than 100 loans. Out of 63,000 whites, less than 100 black people were able to use that Veteran Servicemen's Act.
Yep. But we're talking about not just the 63,000. When you look after World War II and the VA mortgage, you're talking hundreds of thousands. You're talking massive numbers of people who were able to take advantage of the no down payment VA mortgage, which to this day performs very well. But back then you had to be white, in order to access that. So we're doing the same thing, but we've taken that concept, that mortgage, and we made it better. We've made it better because now there's no closing costs and there's no PMI. And that's really important that there's no PMI, because that's a huge cost, as you know. But PMI is a scam. What does PMI, who does that protect? It's got no benefit for the borrower. It protects the lender out there, and in essence, it encourages the lender to foreclose faster, because they want to get the protection of the private mortgage insurance, and the way you get the maximum protection is to foreclose faster. So, what's the point? Well, there should be assistance for somebody, because, life, people go through difficult circumstances. So what do? We say no PMI, but people have access to financial assistance and counseling and modification once they become a NACA homeowner. and they're able to get financial assistance to get their payments up to speed, because maybe they're out because of a medical problem or personal issue. So we are able to help them. So we provide the post purchase assistance, which is what PMI does not do, even though private mortgage insurance is extremely costly and predatory and shouldn't be required.
I totally agree with that statement. Totally agree with that statement. Bruce is saying that we have an echo, and it's only because Bruce doesn't have headphones, but we're doing what we can, how we can, the way that we do that, right? And so PMI is private mortgage insurance. There was a question that came up. What is PMI? It's private mortgage insurance. If you are not putting down 20% or more for your deposit or your down payment, then if you're putting down 3%, 3.5% FHA, if you're putting down 5% conventional, you are not meeting the 20% threshold of being able to afford the house. And because you're not able to afford the house, you have to have insurance on whether or not you are going to default. So it's like, it's betting against yourself that you're not going to pay your mortgage. And it's to the tune of anywhere between like $200 to $500 a month that's rolled into your insurance, into your mortgage. And then once you hit 20%, you can... correct me if I'm wrong, you can then refinance. You have to request it. It's not something that happens automatic. It's like, hey, didn't I reach 20%? Can you shut off my PMI now? And there's like, well, let's check and make sure that you are where you're supposed to be. And then they'll go ahead and stop the PMI. But if you don't call, they'll keep taking it. I've heard stories of people like they're 50% paid off their mortgage and still paying PMI because they didn't call and ask for it to be removed.
And what's going on now is that you can't even, now they've even eliminated the 20%. So you got to pay that forever on that piece. So that's a big cost, as you say. And but let me add one other thing that we've talked about. We've talked about the 30-year mortgage, but think of the 15-year mortgage. So think of that. That starts right now at an interest rate of 1.75%. 1.75%. And yes, the payments might be a bit more because it's over, you're paying it off over 15 years rather than 30 years. But what a game changer. What a game changer that within 7 years you own 50% equity in the house. So if anybody can afford a 15-year mortgage, I strongly encourage that, because you're really paying that off so much faster. And then one of the other programs that we have is what we call HOT PHA. HOT PHA, home ownership through public housing assistance. So the HOT PHA says that you take someone who is on Section 8, and remember, 80% of the people who are on Section 8 work. So this, perception of what welfare is and all that, or Section 8, is just, it's a lie, and it's just built into people's stereotypes and people's racism.
Specifically here in Boston, when a 3-bedroom, for rent, a 3-bedroom is $3,000. And so in order for your rent to be $3,000 at 30% of your income, you have to be making $10,000 a month. So, like that, if you're making $10,000 a month and paying $3,000 for your rent or your mortgage at 30%, kudos to you. But when we know that 50% of Bostonians make less than $30,000 a year, I can tell you that I have helped people with .govs after their email, US, like Boston, city of Boston.gov, Commonwealth of Massachusetts.gov, that still have Section 8. And even though they may be paying a large portion of the rent, they still need assistance. And so I'm so glad that you said that. The welfare queen was actually a white woman. But the perception is that it's some black lady cashing in food stamps, cashing welfare checks, walking around with a Lincoln and a mink coat.
But when you go back to the HOT PHA, you say, okay, so let's say that, so right now, if you're a four family, I think in Boston, it's about, they're paying for renters, they're paying the landlord about between $2,500 and $3,000 a month. So let's say it's the $3,000 a month that they're paying. You can use that $3,000 a month to make your mortgage payment. And the way that we're doing it is that we take a 30-year mortgage, but we pay it off over 15 years. So in 15 years, using your Section 8 payment, you own that house free and clear. That's a game changer. That's a game changer.
Tell me. But I want to be clear that it's public housing. So you have to have like a city of a Boston housing authority voucher. You can't have like a metropolitan housing voucher because they're not a part of the public system. They're actually a nonprofit.
Right. But so you're always wanting to create programs that meet the needs, particularly of low and moderate income home buyers. And and we're even working so that we get billions to lend, but we're also going to make changes so that we can get an even lower interest rate for LMI borrowers. So there's good news to come as we finalize things going into next year. And now with the new administration, we hope to be able to do even more, because NACA is the largest housing counseling agency in the country. So there's 1,700 counseling agencies. We're one of 1,700. We do over 30% of the counseling in this country. But when we do it a different way than a lot of the counseling agencies. We do it as full document counseling, as we've been talking about, Tayla. That means that it's trust and verify. Trust and verify. You say what the client, the borrower says what their income is, verified with pay stubs, W-2s, saying I have this amount in the bank, because you still need a minimum required payments, because you still need to pay your escrows, your taxes, your insurance in advance. Verified bank statements. Said, okay, I haven't been late on my payments in the last 24 months. Verified by the tri-merge comprehensive credit report. So we say to people, if you come through NACA, stick with us and you'll have an opportunity to be a homeowner. And the other thing that we haven't talked about is NACA is going to start building homes. We're going to start to, and we haven't, talked much about it, but there's an opportunity to build homes out there. And what we see is the developers are not building affordable homes.
Nor are they building homes with more than 3 bedrooms, even though we know that more than 37% of families have 3 or more children, which requires them to have more bedrooms. Yet the city of Boston is not building anything over a 3-bedroom, which is weird, first of all. And second, one of the things I wanted to mention was there's RFPs out here, Bruce, and I would really appreciate if you could pick up some of these RFPs and build on this city land that they're giving away.
Absolutely. And we should talk more about that, because what we want to do is we don't want to do it as a way to make a profit. We want to do it because we want to provide low and moderate income people the opportunity to be able to purchase a new construction that is well designed, so it's really attractive, that is high quality. You can use panelized housing. There's all kinds of new technologies out there that are very good, and obviously energy efficient and solar and all that stuff. So you can do that on scale. But as you say, these developers are getting the land for free. And then they say, well, we'll put in 10% of the units as affordable, or maybe 15%. If they're getting either a zoning variance, or if they're getting the land at a discount for free, 50% at a minimum. Now, from NACA's point of view, it should be 100%. So what we're going to be building is we're going to build 100% affordable units, not 10 or 15 or 50%. But the idea that they can get away with this and not being required to make 50% of those units affordable is a disgrace. They're ripping us off, and because they have the connections. They, it's either campaign contributions or whatever they do. They have the connections to doing that, and they get away with max. And then, you say to them and say, okay, then they're going to whine, because all these developers, they always whine, right? So they say, well, we can't do it if we're going to do the 50%. Okay, fine. Prove it. Show us your data. Show us your cost. Show us, how much, why you can't do that. And if you can't actually do that because of various circumstances, okay, we can make an adjustment on that. But they won't show us. They say, trust us. And we should trust the developers. We should trust these people. I mean, they treat us like we're stupid or that we're ignorant. And we say, just show us your stuff. They won't show it to us. So if they're not going to show us their financials, they're not going to show us their costs, they're not going to show us how much money they're going to make on it, then they should, at a minimum, make 50% of the units that they develop affordable.
Facts. Mic drop facts. That's all I have to say. So Bruce Marks of NACA, thank you so much for giving us this information. Where should we start? So we literally have a minute. If I am looking to purchase, how much do I have to make minimum? I know you're not looking at my credit score. You're just making sure that I'm not missing all of these payments. But how much what's the minimum amount that I need to produce? And how does it work if I am a 1099 and don't have a W-2?
Everybody should come. You should come to NACA, because at a minimum, because people are out of work. They're they're out of work. People's income. Come and just at least start the process, because you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Start the process, and so we can help on your financial management. And if you're a 1099, well, then we're just going to look at your bank statements, and we will work with that. If you're self-employed, so you can be self-employed, you can be, you can get disability income, fixed payments. You can be, W-2, the whole range. But start the program. We do workshops every Saturday. They're at 9 o'clock. They're at 1 o'clock. They're at 5 o'clock. Sign up for a workshop. That's your first step. And once you sign up for a workshop, then you'll meet face to face with a counselor. Obviously, it will be on a video conferencing. People have headphones. I'm sorry about that. Next time I will have the headphones. But and if for member services, you can call the number 425-602-6222. Go to the live chat. It answers a lot of the questions, as you were just saying. You check that out, or go to our website at NACA.com. But start the process. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose, because you'll improve your financial management, and you know where you are and where you need to get to.
Thank you so much, Bruce Marks of NACA, NACA.com. You have absolutely nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. It doesn't matter. So first and foremost, Bruce said you need to sign up for the workshop. First thing you should do is go get the book. And then after you go get the book and go get all the information that you need to understand in order for your step-by-step guide. And you don't have to be purchasing or thinking about purchasing right now. It could be you purchasing 5 years from now. Let's at least get you ready to go through the process. And then, yes, please sign up. And y'all gonna have to wait until January, because I'm looking online right now, and all the classes are booked up until January 5th or 7th. So if you're interested in taking them classes, go online right now, NACA, and sign up immediately. One more time, Bruce, can you give us the number, please?
Sure. So the number is 425-602-6222. But also, as what you did, go into the live chat, so you can have any of the questions there. And we'll be adding more of the workshops, because we're going to meet the demand, and we're going to make the NACA standard the national standard. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Bruce, so we're going to close out. I would like for you to stay because I have a question to ask you. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I want y'all to be educated and properly informed so you can make the decisions the right decisions. I want you to live life the right way, to do what's right for you. Earlier we were talking about history. I want you to have self-knowledge, self-determination. I want you to do group economics. Like Kwanzaa does not take place in December. It's Monday through Sunday. Technically, it's Sunday through Monday, but that's another conversation for another day. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Mwah. Bruce. Let me tell you first and foremost.
You should come and work